everyone, this is Just Fake Network TV, a home of accurate news and current news. For those who subscribe to our channel, God bless you for subscribing, and if you are yet to do so, please kindly press the subscription button below. And now the news in details. US declares support for human rights activists. Growing cases of human rights violation by governments around the world. Both United Nations and United States have thrown their weight behind human rights activists, declaring their support for the activist struggles for the dignity of human persons. United Nations Secretary General Antonio said on Tuesday that UN would stand with young activists, even as United States Secretary of State Michael said US would remain staunch supporter of those who strive for their rights and human dignity. He added that every government derived its moral authority by its willingness to protect the rights and freedom enriched in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as adopted by the UN General Assembly in 1948. Michael spoke separately on the occasion of Human Rights Days, while the UN Secretary General made his remarks at the body's New York headquarters at a program titled Youth Standing Up for Human Rights. The U.S. Secretary of State's speech was contained in a statement from the U.S. Department of State, issued by the Office of the Spokesperson and made available to the media, titled International Human Rights Day. The UN scribe noted that the young activists had been at the forefront of agitation against human rights abuses in their different countries. We express our support for those who are committed to protecting and promoting human rights, and we highlight where governments and others are falling short. To the brave young human rights activists here today, I say, the United Nations stand with you, and I stand with you, said the Secretary General. He pointed out that the occasion was to celebrate the role of young people in advancing and protecting human rights. As someone who grew up under dictatorship, I am deeply inspired by the energy and passion young people bring to the struggle for human rights. I know young people can lead movements that change hearts and minds and make history. That is an indelible part of my own past. Throughout history and across the world, young people have been at the forefront of standing up for what is right. From Harriet Tubman anti-slavery activism to the White Rose campaign in Nazi Germany, young people have risked everything to struggle against oppression and discrimination and affirm fundamental rights and freedoms. They have played a key role in the civil rights movement, the anti-apartheid movement, the women's rights movement, and many anti-colonial and liberation struggles. Today's young human rights leaders are continuing this tradition. They are powerful torchbearers for the better future, and we all hold them our support. Today, on Human Rights Day, we reaffirm fundamental human rights and celebrate the wisdom and legacy of Eleanor Roosevelt and all those involved in drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights more than 70 years ago. The Universal Declaration established a special responsibility for the United Nations to advance all rights, civil, cultural, economic, political, and social. For all people, human rights are at the core of the UN and inform all our work. Since the adoption of the Universal Declaration, there has been massive progress. Billions of people around the world, lifesaver, longer lives, with access to opportunities and hope for a better future. This is a great awareness of the value and commitment that underlines our rights and an understanding of their universal nature. We have built on the success of the Universal Declaration with additional covenants and a robust treaty-based system of international law. But there is much more to do. There is still an enormous gap between the Universal Declaration and the situation in countries around the world. Human rights violations, misogamy, and exclusion are widespread and systematic. Inequality is growing and hate speech is poisoning public debate. The climate crisis, urbanization, and endless conflict are denying millions of people that fundamental rights and freedom. Our shared human values offer a way through, and once again, young people are in the lead. Everywhere, they are marching against corruption, repression, and inequality, and for human rights and human dignity. Young people are on the front line of action against the climate emergency, which poses a serious threat to human rights and to human life. Young women are at the forefront, making the link between the denial of their rights and rising populism, xenophobia, and discrimination of all kinds. Young people are rightly demanding that governments listen to them and respect them. Their voices must be heard. We regularly hear about the repression of human rights defenders. Recently, several young activists who work closely with the United Nations reported that they or their family members experienced retaliation and even detention for speaking out. This reflects a broader trend that is completely unacceptable. The work of human rights defenders, young and old, is essential to all our efforts for peace and for inclusive and sustainable development. They must be protected and supported. I salute them, and I urge government to pay attention, to engage and to invest in progress and hope, said UN Secretary General. On his part, Secretary Pompeo took a sweep at China, Iran, Syria for their Syria human rights violation. Indeed, it is widely recognized that a government's moral authority is derived in large measure by its willingness to protect the rights and freedom enumerated in the UDHR. Sadly, not all nations have demonstrated their willingness. The Chinese government continues to repress members of religious and ethnic minority groups in Xinjiang, Tibet, and elsewhere, as well as to undermine the freedoms guaranteed to Hong Konger under the Sino-British Joint Declaration and the Basic Law. The regime in Iran, Syria, and Venezuela commits gross human rights violations every day that shock the conscience in order for countries such as China, Iran, Syria to regain moral authority in the eyes of freedom-loving nations. They must rededicate themselves to protect human rights and fundamental freedoms. Today, we celebrate the universal rights outlined in the UDHR and recommit ourselves to protecting and promoting this fundamental, universal, and essential freedom. The United States will always remember a staunch supporter of those who strive for their unalienable rights and human dignity, said Secretary Pompeo. So viewers, what is your own take? What is your own opinion about what the United Nations and the United States Declaration in support for human rights activists? What do you think about this news? Because to me, I believe everybody must have freedom of speech, freedom to talk. But the issue that we all have in Nigeria, and we all know, is that we are lacking the freedom of speech. And for those who are using the freedom of speech, the government is trying to go against them. And it is a big problem in Nigeria right now that people are scared of talking. People are scared of expressing themselves out. People are scared of coming out to say the truth. Because by the time they come out to say the truth, we all know what happened at the end of it all. We all know what the government will do at the end of it all. And we all know that the government doesn't like the truth. They don't like people telling them the truth. And this actually making everybody to try to hide and not being able to come out. And look at what these people said. They said, we express our support for those who are committed to protecting and promoting human rights. We are light where government and others are falling short to the brave young human rights activists here today. So trust me, human rights activists, they are the people that support citizens. They support the true Nigerian citizens or true any if you're outside the other country. But the thing is this, human rights activists in our own way in Nigeria, it's otherwise. Because when you come out to speak the truth, they will always stab you at the back. And that is what the US and US are talking about. Human rights activists, they are there for promotion, for protection. They are there to speak the truth. Look at what is happening to Showore right now. A human rights activist. Look at it. Even though he used a term ash revolution, fine, we accepted that. But this guy is actually saying the truth. Look at what Nnamdi Kanu, look at what is going on in Biafran land right now. Biafrans need their freedom. But here we are right now. They are not ready to give them their freedom. They are not ready. So if such proclamation is duly applied, then indigenous resolutions should be evaluated and reviewed diplomatically so that nations like Biafra should be given global recognition sooner than later. I wish all these things that United Nations and United States are saying, I wish Nigerian government can apply it. If they can do that, I believe Nigeria will be better than where we are right now. So viewers, what is your own take? What is your own opinion about this news? Kindly drop your comments below. Click on the subscription button and also press the bell icon to get updates whenever I upload videos. Bye.